Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has arrived in Washington ahead of a crucial meeting with U.S. counterpart Donald Trump later today. The meeting comes after Trump appeared to soften his attitude towards Zelenskyy, describing him as very brave. Earlier, Trump had called the Ukrainian president a dictator. Now, the Ukrainian leader is likely to sign a framework agreement with Trump at the White House that aims to give the U.S. access to future revenues from state-owned mineral and fossil fuel resources in Ukraine, including oil and gas, as part of a jointly controlled fund. In part, the fund would help pay for reconstruction. Trump said the deal is about the U.S. getting its money back after 3 years of military assistance to the Ukraine, but is not believed to offer any U.S. security guarantees, a core demand from Zelenskyy. All right, for more on President Zelenskyy and Trump's meeting, we're joined by SABC News correspondent Nick Harper. Nick, welcome. Many can hardly keep up with the developments around the Trump administration. This meeting with President Zelenskyy, which is said to be very crucial, comes after a meeting between President Putin and Trump, and followed perhaps what some would say were unfortunate remarks by Trump directed at Zelenskyy, among them being that Zelenskyy is a dictator. But here we are, after all that has happened, the meeting is happening today. Just talk us through what is to be discussed at that meeting.
Yeah, an incredibly busy week for the US president. He met with the French President Emmanuel Macron here at the White House on Monday, the UK Prime Minister just yesterday, also here at the White House, and now it's going to be President Volodymyr Zelenskyy's turn. He will be arriving any moment now. He will be turning up just out of shot over here. This is a live feed. He'll be appearing about on this side of the screen. We are just waiting for his convoy of vehicles to arrive. But at the centre of this meeting will really be the future security of Ukraine. But in order to get to that, it all surrounds this rare earths mineral deal, essentially an economic development plan that Donald Trump and President Zelenskyy may sign later on today, which would give the US right to rare earths that are in Ukraine, the ability for the US to exploit those materials, to bring them back to the United States as part of manufacturing of high-tech technology that they need. The problem is, for President Zelenskyy, what does he get in return? He is pushing for security guarantees, things that he says will be needed to safeguard the future of the country. But so far, Donald Trump has remained firm, suggesting that the United States will not provide any security guarantees, suggesting that the very fact that the US will be involved in this economic deal is enough. And when it comes to an actual troop presence or military support, that will be up to the Europeans to have to deal with, because Ukraine is on their continent and not on the United States. So a fascinating development we're likely to be seeing today, but really it surrounds whether or not he gets any security guarantees out of the meeting.
Well, certainly very fascinating, Nick. But it is Zelenskyy's demand that perhaps there be some sort of assurance around security. But as you say, Trump has essentially stated that the deal is to secure a payment for Washington's support of Kiev since Russia's invasion back in 2022, but nothing beyond that point. But you don't believe that when they actually physically meet, this might become a conversation, because we've heard ever so often from many pundits that Trump is a transactional man, that perhaps if there was going to be a conversation around security beyond this point, there might be something else that the United States would seek from Ukraine.
I mean, if we look just at Donald Trump's language over the last couple of weeks when it comes to this transactional deal, his language surrounding it has only hardened. He has ruled out time and time again in front of the French President on Monday, in front of the UK Prime Minister on Thursday, any sort of US involvement when it comes to the security of Ukraine. What we've seen is his language towards the Ukrainian president softening. A week ago, he called him a dictator. Just yesterday, he said that he was very much looking forward to today's meeting. So he has softened his stance within the course of a week or so when it comes to the leader, but he's almost hardened his position in terms of what he wants to get out of this deal. And really, it's all about, for Donald Trump, those rare earths. There is not a transactional nature beyond that. This is payback for 3 years of weapons that the Biden administration gave to Ukraine. Now, that, of course, could change over the course of the next couple of hours, but within the space of about 3 hours, during an Oval Office meeting, a meeting behind closed doors, and then a press conference, we could see the future security of Ukraine being decided. And it'll be up to President Zelensky to try and win those concessions from Donald Trump and to get the US president to agree to some sort of security deal that at this stage he has very much been ruling out.
It honestly remains quite fascinating because what we're monitoring here or witnessing in real time is the reconfiguration of relations between the United States and several countries, among those, of course, being Ukraine, Russia, and even the European Union itself. But on the peace talk, the US is determined to facilitate an end to the war between Russia and the Ukraine. And now that also becomes a focus. Is there some sort of an expectation around this matter at the meeting?
Well, I think in many ways Donald Trump wants to get the rare earths deal done first. And once that is secure, then he has some skin in the game. He's happy to be involved in trying to facilitate a peace deal. But really, this is just the starting block, the preliminary part of the process to get everyone around the table to decide what happens to Ukraine. What he's been saying in terms of the peace deal up until now seems to favour Russia rather than Ukraine. This suggestion that there is really no way to return Ukraine to its pre-2014 borders before Russia invaded Crimea and then 3 years ago invading the east of the country. The suggestion being that Russia will hang on to that territory rather than giving it back to Ukraine, and also in favour of Russia when it comes to Ukraine's desire to join NATO. Donald Trump flatly ruling that out. So yes, we will see perhaps peace talks at some point, but we need to get through this rare earth deal first. And for Donald Trump, looking at this as a deal, looking at this as an economic opportunity, this is the thing that really counts for him before he can move on to trying to make peace happen. And of course, having that as a very key part, he hopes, of his future presidential legacy, bringing peace to Ukraine and Russia.
And we trust you to keep us updated on everything pertaining to that meeting. Nick, thank you very much for that reportage. That's SABC News correspondent Nick Harper there, monitoring that crucial meeting, as many have said, between President Volodymyr Zelenskyy and US President Donald Trump.